No, it's decent. It's controversial.
לחיים, 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 אוי לחיים, טובים ולשונים, חיים לחיים.
All of them, mamish. Incredible, all of them. All right, the most good Erev Shabbos, a good Erev Shabbos. Chassidus Baruch Hashem, to be able to. I missed you guys. We haven't had shir for what? Last 2 weeks? 3 weeks? 2 weeks we didn't have. Okay, so Baruch Hashem, it's a schus to be back with all of you tonight. I hope that in Eretz Hashem next week we have shir also, but I hope that you're going to join me in Eretz Yisrael. That's what I hope in Eretz Hashem. I'll be in Eretz Yisrael next week.
Rob will be up at 3 in the morning?
No, I meant you're going to physically be there. We're all going to be together. Not on Zoom. So, incredible schus Baruch Hashem to be back with all of you. A special welcome back to Reb Steve, who Baruch Hashem spent a couple weeks in Eretz Yisrael visiting with his new grandson, Nachum David. Nachum David, Eretz Hashem. Should be zochem Eretz Hashem to see your grandson grow into a proud Jew, a Ben Torah, Talmid Chacham, Halavai, a Gadol Hadar, who gives his parents nachas, his family nachas. Their life is filled with pressure. Absolutely, better to get the pressure started when you're young. Yeah, you settle. Those of us who grew up in high pressured households, we thank our parents now, Baruch Hashem. But you should be zochem Eretz Hashem to have incredible nachas and me'ever esum shanim tovos. Steve, who are our sponsors tonight?
Matt Walters, in honor of some guy named Steve Galaska.
Oh.
He said that was the only reason. The only way he was going to sponsor is if I did it that way. For all he does, for all I do, for the Chaburah, in honor of Rabbi Silver's upcoming trip to Israel. Josh Friedman, in memory of Yisrael Yehuda ben Arov Chaim Lefal, in the merit of a complete and full refuah shalema for Rachel Tzipora Bas Chayabasha, and for a safe return for the hostages and the Chayalim in Gaza.
Amen.
And G. Weingot, in honor of the recent symbols in the show.
Oh, shkoyach. Beautiful chavra. And of course,
welcome Max Brodsky to the show.
Oh, Dr. Brodsky. Dr. Brodsky.
I didn't say Mr.
Yeah, I didn't say Mr. It's true. Welcome to Max. Baruch Haba. And again, of course, chavra, always an incredibly special thank you to Reb Tzvi. Incredible. Although, again, Josh. Oh, sure. Okay. Did you help in the kitchen, Zadik? You helped in the kitchen. Incredible. So first, I just also want to go on record. By the way, I just realized after dogs, my second pet peeve is wings. Yeah. I don't think wings are Yiddish and Michael. I don't. I just think that I'm just gonna say it.
But the Rav mentioned in Daf that sometimes long and don't double down.
I'm just saying I'm not as passionate. I'm not as passionate about this. I just want to go on record as saying that wings, I don't know if it's Yiddish and Michael. It feels like it's a little bit more like an Esav thing, like mamish, like all over the busser.
Bring their dogs here tonight. All right, I'll be right back.
Like I said, I don't feel as passionately about the wings as I do about the dogs, but I feel people often ask me to share my views on contemporary topics, so I feel the need to be able to share. So, however, it's a great Zechus Baruch Hashem to be here with all of you on I'm not banning, Chas v'Shalom.
Cancel.
No. So yeah, nice.
Earn them with the thumbnail.
I'm really getting old. There's a lot of stuff.
I just went to the kitchen to get ice.
Thank you.
That's how much I love you.
That's a friend.
Even though you show up late for chocolate.
What are you talking about?
He was here to name his daughter. So we're gonna Eretz Hashem begin. We're gonna begin. I will say it's so important. What?
Mazel Tov to Eli.
Oh, we didn't. Mazel Tov to Eli Devar Cohen on the birth of Tamar. Tamar. Mazel tov on Tamar, Miras Hashem. You should be zocha. Miras Hashem. L'gad l'Torah, l'chuppah, u'lemaisim tovim.
His name tomorrow. You're not going to tell me today.
Howie, you can bow out.
Thanks, Dad.
And Steve,
All right.
Steve on our grandson.
I know, you were getting ice for like an hour and a half.
Please took your way.
I got this. All right. Anyone else have anything they need to contribute before we get started? Man, it's not always like this. It's not always like this. It might actually always be like this.
It's always like this. It's not for him.
So we'll say,
Steve is getting progressively worse, though. We got nipped out of the
all right. So, yeah. Are you kidding? This year gets the highest number of views. Right? And it usually stops like at about the 30-minute mark, right? Right when I begin to give this year, that's when it stops. It's all the stuff beforehand.
They're all coming from the opening.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. So we dedicate our learning, of course, as was mentioned before, in the dedication by Reb Josh. Just we dedicate our learning in the schus of our brave soldiers, that they should Hashem be matzliach and come back to their families, bekarov and b'shalom. I will say, just thinking about, I don't know, it feels like these days, like everything is just such a painful reminder of the current matzav in Klal Yisrael. And as much as there's so much beauty and there's so much good, but there's also so much pain laced with everything. You know, think about it, that this Shabbos is going to be Parsha Shkalim, and the Gemara brings down that we read Parsha Shkalim which talks about the mitzvah to give machtas hashekel. Every Jew above the age of 20 has to give a half shekel. So that half shekel did two things: was for census purposes, also for communal offerings. So we always read Parsha Shkalim on the Shabbos before Adar, because the Mishnah says, Ba'adar mashmin al shkalim. Right? In Adar they would begin to announce for the shkalim. And I was just thinking about it, that if the Beis HaMikdash was here, and we were collecting half shekels, Klal Yisrael's tally would be 133 short. Because there are over 130 in precious Jews who would not be able to bring their machzis hashekel. I don't know why, I don't know why that thought just hit me in the neshama. Like, it's almost, no matter what would happen, right? Whether we're in Galus or whether it's Gula, there would be such a feeling of emptiness and such a feeling of loss and such a feeling of deficiency that our life as a nation is not complete while our brothers and sisters languish in captivity. And it's so important because as this war goes on and you follow the news that, like, in the brazenness, that Hamas said, okay, we're going to suspend talks until Monday. Like that Hamas gets like an off Shabbos, we're just, and like the world comes to a standstill. Like the world comes to a standstill, and these families' lives come to a standstill. And now again, for the next number of days, once again, it's in the time that's lo yom v'lo laila. It's not day, it's not night, it's not up, it's not down. Overwhelming. Sechavra, like we say every week, especially now as we go into Rosh Chodesh Adar, Mishenichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha. The month of Adar comes, we intensify our simcha, and the knowledge that as we enter into this month, there is so much pain, and there is so much loss, and there is such a gaping hole in the collective heart of our people. It requires the rest of us to redouble our efforts. You know what's interesting about Klal Yisrael? When we find ourselves in a state of tzara, it's interesting. So people normally think that when you find yourself in a time of difficulty and mourning, so what should you do? You should mourn. But it's interesting, it's not what we do as a people. When there's sadness and there's loss and there's a gaping hole in the collective heart, what do? We redouble our efforts on simcha. We redouble our efforts on growth. We redouble our efforts on aliyah. We don't content ourselves. Anyone could cry. Anyone could cry. And what does crying get you? Actually, we're going to talk about this in the PhD now. So crying can be cathartic and crying can be helpful. But at the end of a good cry, you might feel a little bit better. But nothing is really different in your life. It says, as we enter into this month with still so many lives lost and still so many of our brothers and sisters held in captivity, it behooves us to redouble our efforts. That we have to create the simcha that they cannot create. We have to create the light that they cannot create. We have to bring the machzis hashekel that our brothers and sisters who are languishing in Gaza can't bring for themselves. And halavai the schus of us redoubling our efforts for our brothers and sisters. Halavai HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bring back all of the hostages intact, physically and emotionally to their families. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bring Mashiach. There should be Tchias HaMesim, and all of Klal Yisrael should be reunited. Amen. So we'll say, let us begin. We are picking up on page Shin Chavtes. There should be extra. We have all the Svarim out? You have all out? Good. Okay. There were extras, no? So got everybody? You have down there? Oh. Yeah. All right. No, unless we have more people. Okay.
I don't know.
Good. All right. Good. Fine. All right. Well, let's say let's go. Let's go. We'll leave it to everybody to share. Meretz Hashem was able to share. So we'll say let's here, anyone needs one? Robert, you want one? Okay. So we'll say here we go. Page Shin Chavtes. We're starting with Sif Zayin. So the Mechaber, the Piagetz, so remember again, it's been a little while, so just reorient ourselves a little bit. The Piagetz in this Sefer Tzav V'Zeruz, this is the Rebbe's journal. And in this journal, again, although the journal is written as being addressed to others, these are really the Rebbe's innermost thoughts, right? His own innermost thoughts, the things that he dealt with, the things that he contended with, the things that he struggled with. So he writes as follows. I will say this is an incredible, incredible piece. Look what he writes. I will say, you'll notice, by the way, also, the wording itself is so poetic. You almost see like a stream of consciousness from the Rebbe. It's not written as a halachic sefer, or even as like a hashkafic sefer, or a musar sefer. It really is written almost, I would say, like, it almost feels like prose, like almost like poetry. It almost feels like something that you could just imagine, like the Rebbe sitting down, kind of looking out like into a forest and just emptying his heart onto the pages of this incredible sefer. So he writes as follows. He says, Kenar Shotef, Asher Yizrom v'Yischav Kol Asher Al Darko Yimatzeh. So I'll say, he says that life is very often like a raging river. So what does a raging river do? So I'll say, a raging river ultimately flows v'Yischav, and it sweeps away anything that's in its path. Right? That's the power. It's so interesting how water itself has these dual properties, right? On one hand, you can't live without water. On the other hand, water could unleash such profound destruction. It's an incredible, incredible dichotomy. So the Rebbe says that life very often is like, we'll see what he means by life, but life is like a raging river that sweeps away everything in its path. Af al toch chorim ustakim yachtar v'yishtov. And we'll see, sometimes when there's a raging body of water, so what ends up happening? The river deposits stuff, right? When the river picks stuff up, so the river doesn't have kavanah where it places it down, right? You see this like after a flood, right? This is over here and this is over there, and everything is just placed. But one thing is clear, which is stuff is out of place, right? And the fact that it's out of place is amplified by the fact that often those same very items end up like in the most awkward and strange placements. He says, listen to this. Gam came, zerem deos hadar, as das hayochid yishtov. So the Rebbe says something amazing. The Rebbe says the same thing applies over here. The same thing applies to Rebbe say when it comes to hashkafas of society. Get ready for this. Rebbe say this is absolutely incredible. The Rebbe says we live in a society, and society has its ideologies, and society has its isms, and society has its morals or lack of morals, values or lack of values. And what ends up often happening? In a society, those societal norms, values, ideals, morals become so strong all around me that they threaten as das hayachid yishtov. They threaten to wash away my own set of values and morals. I will say, I just want to point out something interesting over here. Understand, we like to think that we live in 2024 and we face unprecedented challenges, right? No other generation had our challenges. I would say it's not true. Every generation has its challenges. And in each generation, their challenges are great for them. So what says you think about it just a moment. The Piagetz is writing this in the 1920s in Piagetz. I will say Piagetz, they didn't even have a pizza store there, right? There wasn't a pizza store like Pizza Piagetz, right? There wasn't anything over there. And you think to yourself, what kind of trouble could you get yourself into in Piazetzna? Right? What could possibly be going on in Piazetzna? Right? We have like this idea of like, it's the countryside, right? The Yidden are just davening and they're learning and they're giving tzedakah and they're farbringing and they're going to work as a shoemaker or as a farmer and they're coming home and we have, so look at the Piazetzna says. The Piazetzna says, we live in society. We live in society. And sometimes the ideas and the isms and the values of society, greater society, are so strong that they threaten to totally just wipe us away. Yesh asher lo yargish hayochel mu'uma ubedaito yidme shedaito Hashem az eitan gamata. But say here's the danger. The danger is that sometimes, and I see this a lot in life in general, prolonged exposure to any one thing numbs you to that very thing. That's the way it works, right? Person works in a hospital, right? And they're always seeing death, or they're always seeing blood, or they're always seeing whatever. Okay, so it doesn't rattle you. It doesn't rattle you, right? Which again, right? Or a person is, I often think about this. Whenever I have to go to Levinson's for a levaya, like I always wonder to myself, like, what is it like to work in a funeral home? Not because I'm considering a career change, right? Although some days, right? No one talks back, right? No. Right? So I say, so it's interesting. Like you wonder, what does it do to a person to wake up in the morning, and from the time you wake up until the time you leave work, it's death. It's all death, all the time. And I often thought about it, like on one hand, I could see it making you like incredibly the kind of person who like lives life to its fullest, because you see each and every day that life is a finite, non-renewable resource. Or I would venture to say probably the opposite happens, which is just over time, you just become desensitized to it. Like it's just another thing. It's just another fact in my day-to-day life. So often what ends up happening is when we find ourselves surrounded by societal ideas or concepts or values or isms that run contrary to our own, because there is prolonged and sustained exposure to that, what ends up happening? We don't even see the change that occurs within ourselves. So I think I'm just fine. I'm holding my ground. I haven't changed anything. I'm still the same guy. All the same goals, all the same ashkafas, all the same everything. And meanwhile, I don't even realize the change that has happened within me just as a result of the prolonged exposure. He goes on, he says, Ubidaito, good. He says, Aval be'emes, alav yif'olu v'imayim ma'at or harbe yischov. But it's not true. Because I will say often those societal ideas, values, isms, they're like that strong current of water. And what do? When they wash over you, they do not leave you in place. They do not leave you in place. They move you. You are not the same person. Ba'akimasam yisakim. As crooked as they are, that's how crooked I become. And as a result of their deficiencies, I become deficient. So first of all, this is an incredible yesod in general. Because I will say one of the greatest, I guess I'll call it like forms of cognitive dissonance or just self-delusion that we engage in, is that we believe that we could do something and it doesn't affect me. I'll say, I'm going to give you just a simple example. I know this is like a person watches a movie. And by the way, go watch movies. This is not like an anti-movie like a thing. Right, go watch movies. Person watches a movie where there's inappropriate material. Let's say, after a person watches that, are they the same person? When you close your eyes to Shemona Esrei, what do I see? When I stop to think, what are the images? But it's just a movie. It's like I'm relaxing, I'm taking it easy. Okay, I got it. It's not, I'm not ranking it up there, but for all of us, we allow ourselves to have these exposures, somehow deluding ourselves that it's not going. I will say, again, I want to be clear. Everyone should relax and watch something if you want to watch something and enjoy yourself. And there should be kasher and yasher and just don't spend hours in it. And again, after wings, my thing after that is football. I'll say, but again, right? But Lamaisa, no, movies. My point just is, I'm using movie as an example. But you could plug it into anything. So many things we do in life, and if somebody were to ask me, is it appropriate to watch something with nudity? I'm going to throw out the question to the Olam. right? Is it appropriate to watch something? Let's say, I don't think anyone's like, yeah, you know what, I can make a cogent argument that should be totally fine, right? But yet I will say, like, we do it. It's such a strange dynamic. So how do you reconcile the fact that I know that something is objectively wrong with the fact that I do it? And the answer is because I convince myself that I could do it without being affected. That's what it is. That's the psychology of it. I know that it's wrong, but it's okay. I can do it without being affected. Or I want to go to a certain place, and I know that the influences there are not the right influences. It's okay. I'm above that. So the Piaget says, first of all, no, I'm not. Right? There are streams that operate all around us. And when you get into that current, you are going to get swept away. I want to say, and again, I want to just point out over here, if you notice, the Piaget is not going through what Isser is it, right? He's not going through, you're going to go to Gehenna, you're going to go this. That's not what he's doing. I want to say, because what's our goal? Our goal is to become the best version of ourselves. And what the Piaget reminds us of over and over and over is that more often than not, the reason we don't ever get to that stage in life is because I self-sabotage. That's it. I just self-sabotage. I do stuff that sets me back multiple steps. But why? Because I'm convinced that I could do it and it's not going to set me back multiple steps. That's it. So Piaget says, I don't even realize it. I don't realize that after whatever it is, after that movie, after that immersion, after that event, I'm a different person. So suddenly again, the river, right? The river has swept me away and deposited me somewhere else. And he goes on, he says, Therefore it says the Piaget, to whatever degree possible, identify the negative streams and distance yourself from them. That's it. And I will say, do you know what the key to successful living is? The Baal HaTanya writes it. The Baal HaTanya says that the Shulchan Aruch opens with the phrase, Shivisi Hashem l'negdi samid. I place God before me at all times. The key to successful living is God awareness. The key to God awareness is living life with cognition, living life with awareness, as what the Mesilas Yesharim calls zihirus. Right? I am living life with a sense of awareness. I know, and I want to say, listen to this. I know that if I do this, it's going to wash me away. Now, by the way, I may still do it. But better to do something wrong. Here, let me finish the statement. Don't leave yet, right? Because if you leave like in the middle of it, you're going to think there's a period over there, right? No. Better to do something wrong and know that it's wrong than to do something wrong and pretend that it's okay. And that's what all of Yiddishkeit is about. The Rebbe Shalom never expects perfection from us. He just expects honesty. So if I'm going to do that thing that's wrong, okay, just own it. I am too weak right now to resist this temptation. So I'm going to look at this, I'm going to enjoy this, I'm going to partake of this, I'm going to do this. I'm doing it. I'm owning it. But one thing I'm not going to do is, I'm not going to pretend it away. I'm not going to convince myself that someone will say, you know how much effort, you know how many different streams in Yiddishkeit have been created over the years. Rav Shlomo Hirsch writes about this. He says, why did the Jews build the golden calf? I think I mentioned this once before. He says, why did the Jews build the golden calf? He said, not because they believed in the calf. How can they believe in the calf? It doesn't make any sense. They built the golden calf because they wanted immorality. The problem is Torah doesn't allow for immorality. So what do you do when the Torah you have doesn't allow for immorality? What do? You create a new system. And here Rav Shlomo Hirsch says, do you want to know the difference between Avodah Zarah and Avodas Hashem? In Avodah Zarah, you make God in your image. In Avodas Hashem, I make myself in God's image. It's almost like, I will say, it's almost like the guy who's playing darts, right? The guy's playing darts, and somebody walks by and they say, that's incredible. You got all of them in the bullseye. What's the secret? He says, it's very simple. I throw the darts and then I draw the bullseye afterwards. It's fantastic. Everything goes in if you draw the bullseye afterwards. So often in life, that's what we do. I'm going to throw the darts wherever I want. I'm going to do whatever I want. And then afterwards, I'm going to explain it. I'm modern. I'm Haredi. I'm this, I'm Tzioni, I'm not Tzioni, I'm the Turei Karta, I'm Satmar, I'm Hindu, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is, I'm going to explain away why these things don't apply to me, right? They don't apply to me. And I will say, deep down I know, it's sheker. Own it. It's okay. You sinned? Great. Join the club. Join the club. I will say, we are all card-carrying members of the Sinner Club. Right? Some of us even have platinum status. Right? I just want to point out, right? Right? And I'm not sure I include myself in the platinum club. I'll say, that's what it is. But the Piagetna says, so we lose so much traction in life because we just pretend things away. So like, I'm going about my merry way, thinking that my hashkafas are intact, everything is fine. Meanwhile, I've been totally moved to a different location because I've allowed myself to be exposed to the whole variety of alien hashkafas and alien influences that exist all around me. And once you know what ends up happening, one day when a person decides to be honest, they open their eyes and they're like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? How did I get here? I don't even know how I wound up over here. The last time I was paying attention in life, I was over there. Now I'm over here. What happened? This Piagetna goes on. The Rebbe says, "Aval bezel levad mizar mashotev olo nistarta." So this is incredible. But being awareness doesn't really protect you from the raging flow of the river. Remember again, the river is the metaphor for the alien ideologies and isms. Right? We'll say how many times we speak of all of these isms that we are forced to accept, right? That are foisted upon us. Someone was telling me that they were going to a conference, and again, they were going to have to introduce themselves, and he said, I know when I introduce myself, the question is going to be, what's your name, and how do you want people to refer to you? How do you want people to refer to you? And I both say, does anyone take a step back and realize how profoundly stupid that is? Profoundly stupid. Yet, we're bought into it. And by the way, if you disrespect someone's pronoun, oh boy, right? Hell hath no fury, like a spurned pronoun, right? In other words, let's say, and yet, we're bought into this. We are bought into this, right? We'll say, none of us have the courage in the workplace to say, I'm sorry, I'm not calling you by that pronoun. No, right? We'll say, no one here would do it. I wouldn't do it either. I'm lucky that Baruch Hashem in the shul we don't have pronoun issues, But Baruch Hashem, I would say, no one would do it. You know what? Because I'm not. I like my job. I like where I work. I'm not getting into this. So like,
I'm not playing pretend with you.
Right? But we do it. But we do play pretend. We buy into it, and we're part of it. And we'll say, so again, recognize that. Just understand when you buy into that system, and suddenly again, person could determine whatever their pronoun is, and it could be totally detached from reality. And now you're playing into that. Just understand, you might have to do it, but please know that you've been swept away. Just know it. Again, it's not a bad thing. You're not chas v'sholom again. It's not never. But just understand that now what has happened is that you've been moved from.
Not by choice.
Everything is by choice.
But you said I like my job.
That's a choice. That's a choice.
But that's not a real choice.
Sure it is. Josh, can I tell you something? My grandfather, Zichron Livracha, quit his job every Friday afternoon when he came to this country after the war because he refused to work on Shabbos. He lost his job every single Friday with 4 children. He wasn't exactly very employable as a refugee from the Holocaust. There's always a choice. Now again, I want to be clear. I'm not telling anyone to quit their job over pronouns. I want to be clear. But again, don't fool yourself into thinking it's not a choice. It is a choice. And again, you may make the choice.
Choice, right? I mean, like.
What do you mean? Choice is
put a gun through your head.
Right. You have a choice. Yeah, again, I want to be clear. I want to be clear. It's easy for me to espouse these things because I don't live with these challenges day to day. By the way, I am him, he, his. I just want to point out. I say so. I am. I'm going to tag one, right? That's right. It's a soundbite. I say so. So again, so obviously, again, I just want to point out that okay, it's easy for me to preach about this because again, it's not my nisayon, and I'm fully aware of that. And again, all I'm trying to highlight is what the Piagetna is saying, that we get swept away because we're surrounded by stuff every single day. We don't even realize that we're swept away. So we'll say, so he says, number one, awareness that you're swept away is not enough. You need more than awareness. Well, see, I can't believe we're almost out of time. What else do you need? Well, say, see, here we go. He says, and I guess this kind of goes to Josh's point. What are you going to do? You're not going to interact with people at all. In other words, so if you want to be shielded from everything negative in society, so what should you do? You shouldn't talk to anyone. Because let's be clear, this isn't like a Jew, non-Jew thing, right? There are plenty of Jewish interactions we have that unfortunately are not healthy or not conducive to my growth. So what are you going to do? Not talk to anyone? That's not possible. That's not possible. Umi hu asher ya'arov l'cha shebanecho b'nei beischa she'ina mituharim min amol kamocha lo yatzinoros asher al yadam delef deos ha'olam gam oscha yidlo. Furthermore, I'm going to say, a person can control themselves. What about your family? What happens if my wife is influenced by certain things? My children are influenced by certain things. So what? I'm gonna cut them off. Chas v'shalom. Chas v'shalom. I'm not going to interact with them. Chas v'shalom. So now again, I think this is the Josh's point. The Piaget's point is sometimes you don't have a choice. Right? Sometimes it just is what it is. There are going to be exposures, and those exposures are absolutely going to wash me into a different direction. So what should I do? Abba say this is incredible. He says, "Umihu haish." This is so profound. Umihu haish asher af milinshom es avir haolam haratuv umale deos alimane. Piaget says that sometimes society is so saturated with alien values that it's literally in the air that we breathe. And sometimes just inhaling the air of greater society, by definition, changes me. So what are you going to do? Not breathe? So I'll say, see here what's incredible over here? And this is the beauty of our Rebbe. What our Rebbe does, I will say, is first he paints like an ideal, like a paradigm. And then he says, okay, but we don't live in Gan Eden. We don't live in the ideal. We live in this world. So the ideal is identify every single negative influence that could possibly wash you away and distance yourself from it. That's the ideal. Reality, not going to happen. Not going to happen. You can't control who your family is. You can't control your exposures, or maybe something you can't even control what your job is or who you interact with. You can't control the air that you breathe. So by definition, everyone is going to get washed away in some way. He goes on, he says, Chok chokoku, ki hakol rak of hashamayim yolichu, v'adeos u'machshavos asher dakim v'zakim min hakol, avgale ha'avir yolichu. This is such a profound idea. You know, there's a concept, because the pasuk says that of hashamayim, you have to be careful when you tell secrets. Why? Because when you tell a secret, the birds carry your secrets from one person to another. The idea is word travels. The Piaget says there's even something that travels faster than words, and that is ideas. Ideas, concepts, values, isms. Of course, those are expressed in words. Also, we see this, like ideas catch fire. Right? A piece of gossip will definitely circulate, but an idea could spread like wildfire. So the Piaget says, what are you supposed to do? We live in a society with all of these alien ideas, and they're in the air. And if you're worried about the birds taking the secrets from one place to another, can you imagine again what the very air itself does to spread and to disseminate all of these alien values? He says, Avgali ha'ever yolichu. The air current, right? The air current itself literally means the waves of air, but the air current itself circulates these ideas. V'derech ha'af v'nikvei ha'ar. And I will say, what happens? These ideas, they enter through every opening. They enter through your nose, they enter through your ears, they enter through your eyes. The ideas of society, you can't escape them. So I will say, you see this incredible like dialectic, that on one hand the Piaget's not telling us, I will say that we are often surrounded by the raging stream of alien ideas, isms, and values. And our goal is to step away from them. Don't get caught in the current. That's the ideal. And in that chelik, the Piaget that teaches us awareness. So we'll say the goal is live life with a sense of awareness. Don't live life with your head buried in the sand. Don't pretend problems away. I'm going to sin. I'm ready to sin. But be honest enough and be brave enough to own it. To acknowledge it, to say, I can't resist this right now. I'm going to do this. Maybe I even plan. I'm sliding it in my calendar. I'm doing tshuva tomorrow at 10 a.m. Right, I'm putting it in there. So Baruch Hashem is in the schedule already. I know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do tshuva. And again, not that necessarily works, but lamaisa, but again, but it's paradigm. That's the ideal. But then there's the reality. The reality is you cannot escape the raging river of societal ideas and influences. So we'll have to stop over here for tonight, unfortunately, kind of mid-idea. It's not my fault, it's because Ellie played too long. It wasn't me, it was not me. I'm kidding. It was perfect. Okay, so we'll stop over here for tonight. And Emirat Hashem, next year, we'll pick up with the Piagetzna's resolution. Remember, I will say, shh, give me literally 1 second. Literally 1 second. Remember, I will say, the beauty of the Rebbe is the Rebbe never gives us a problem without a solution. That's what makes him our Rebbe. Anyone could raise problems. It takes great people to advance solutions. So now I wanted to get to problem and solution tonight, but Emirat Hashem did problem tonight. Emirat Hashem solution next year. Myriv India. Perfect.
Personally.
Thank you, Steve. I'm looking forward. Thank you.
The idea of the virgin comes almost in opposite way. The idea that virgin, right?